allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew? Here. Mr. Kramer? Mr. Menegini? Mr. Oja? Mr. Pop?
I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Pop.
Mr. Kramer? Yes. Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop? Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the approval of the agenda. Is there any questions on the agenda? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of the minutes, the regular meeting of July 1, 2019, special meeting of July 8, 2019. Is there any questions? If not, could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 1st, 2019, and the special meeting of July 8th, 2019. Support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Move on to the approval of manifest 2019-15. Brett, did you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Lee?
I got a couple here. Oh, if I find it here. I don't know if this is a misprint or what, but on page 2 of 7, under General Fund, Department of Public Works and Recreation Department, there's city department contribution in both places for the same person, for the same amount. Should that not just be the recreation, or is that coming out of the general fund?
Well, they're both in the general fund.
Both.
Yeah.
You see it for Stromquist there.
Yeah. We had his time also in because he was doing some of the street work.
Okay. I mean, is he getting the figure that's here? Twice that, he's not getting twice this figure.
I'd have to check with Mary to see what the total figure is.
Yeah, okay. And page 4, 56 electric public parking giveaway, WPP reimbursement, AM conservation group 160 solar fund change PPW giveaway $1,500. What's all that about?
Okay, during October, we have, it's Public Power Week, and during that week, WPPI sponsors some art items to give away to customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I have.
Jeremy?
No question.
I have none either. Do I have a motion on the manifest?
I'll make a motion to approve manifest 2019-15, $436,894.91.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Any wishing to address the council on agenda items shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. All right. I need a motion to go into public hearing.
Make a motion, we go into public hearing.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Mr. Anderson?
Readings of our request to amend ordinance number 371. It will be ordinance 434, which amending an ordinance to amend section 7 of ordinance 371, which is our garbage collection ordinance, and this specifically deals with rubbish, and more specifically to define the compost site and the rubbish container at the DPW building to be for residential use only. I've talked about we've talked about it the last couple of meetings, so we're open up for public hearing, for council and the public to have any questions or comments.
Any questions or comments on this? I know we went over this last few times. Huh? Nobody in the audience? Okay. I have a motion to go back into, out of the public hearing.
Make a motion, we come out of public hearing.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Move on to ordinance 434, Mr. Anderson.
We heard public hearing, closed public hearing, so for council to consider enacting this amendment to ordinance 371, it would be enacting ordinance 434.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 34, and that staff be directed to make publication and notice as per the charter.
Support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew? Mr. Kramer? Mr. Menegini?
We'll move on to number 9, approval request to purchase city-owned property, Norway Springs subdivision lot, number 33.
Request was brought up at the last meeting. Council tabled it for one meeting for us to be able to go through this with Ryan Gordon, who now represents the city on property for sale, city property for sale. We had a chance to do that. You can see the report. We actually went through all the properties that are available in the spring and the spring subdivision. And I think his comment of note, we have had all of the remaining lots listed at $15,000 because of the configuration, and you see the map or the arrow that's in your file or in the report. They're not all equal. There are 2 corner lots still available, and then the current lots that are for sale, there's 2 series of 3. And so his comment was, and is that it's more desirable to have the middle of the 3. His recommendation for the corner lots, that would be lot 22 and 34, was to keep them at 15, and then have the middle lots out of the 3, that would be 29 and 33, to be listed at 15,000. Then you would take lots 28, 30, and 32 to be lowered to 10,000, and then there's lot 26, which would be lowered to 8,000. So one of the main reasons is that when you, if you sell the middle lot like 29 and 33, at this point and take a lower amount, you're devaluing all of the properties, period, across the board. Whereas by having the middle lot at a higher value, you might encourage somebody to buy one of the other 2 lots if they really want to have a lower price.
When was the last time we sold a lot up there?
I don't have the information in front of me, but it's probably been about 6 or 7 years.
Well, I think it's a little longer than that. Might even be 12 years. I can't vote on this because it's a relation involved. But I see no problem with lowering the price because the lots have not sold. I'd like to know for sure. I wouldn't be afraid to say it's been 12 years since anybody's built up there, so that tells you something right there. And on that side, we've had problems in the past on finding laterals. Excuse me. Tear up the new road to run it across, but at least this one will be on the side that the sewer and water is. But how are you going to find a lateral? That might be an extra cost.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. Did you find,
People who
Did
you know anything about where the laterals are up there?
We televise it. We should pinpoint it where the televisor camera, get a pinpoint, go down the market, be in the general area of it. With our televising equipment. So once you push down the camera, push camera down the mat, we'll go up the line, find the lateral, It should be relatively easier than what we've had in the past. When we went across the road lately, we did never had that televising stuff. That was some plus years ago.
20 years ago.
And I think you're right, at least 12 years since somebody's built up in that division.
Yeah.
One of the things though is that, just to keep in mind that the elevation of the sewer on that particular end, it slopes down from 34 to 22. So as you get to the other end, when those houses on the western end built, that sewer was quite a bit deeper, and it was more challenging to find those laterals.
Well, at some place where right, those lots are 32, 33, and 34, the sewer's down 8 feet,
I believe it is.
so that means they would pretty much have to build that lot up or get a,
Yes, it depends
Switch pump.
on where you would come out with the elevation coming out there. We'd find a lateral, you'd have to go from there. It couldn't be not a basement bathroom, you'd have to come out a wall higher up, up below the footing to get out.
and that's something the buyer should know.
Right, and we can try to pinpoint the elevation, find it, and then we'll go from there for elevations. So,
I thought we were gonna find that out before, from the last meeting about that.
we just had the saw grind crew in there televising, so I don't know, maybe they have that already pinpointed for us.
They were there a little while back.
Right, and that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, something
A week
like
ago.
that.
So we may have that on camera already. We do have the capability of televising it, finding it, getting a general idea where it is in that lots. Better with our own equipment, we didn't have that before.
Like I said, I can't vote on it.
Well, my feeling is, that some of this, I understand where we're going with the pricing of it, but I'm also, not even just this lot, even the ones out on the golf course. I'm thinking, maybe we don't wanna go as high, because we wanna sell them and get people on that property. I'm not saying I'm disputing the price, I don't know what land goes for or whatever, but, we've got some vacant land around here, and, I would like to see some building on it and get some tax revenue.
No, nothing's selling.
Well, I think we just hired Mr. Gordon, and I think we should give him an opportunity to market the properties. And we hired him for his expertise and his recommendations. So-
I agree.
Yeah, one of, his, I think when you look at, the recommendation and the way he explained it to me was that, you have those 3 properties, that you're trying to sell, and you do lower the price for the 2 outside properties, but leave the middle property higher. If they want to have that middle property, they pay a higher premium than the 2 on the side. That's, a lower price and take the one that's on the side, as opposed to the one that's in the middle.
What was the side ones, 10?
10 and 8, there's a middle property for, that's, or a single property, number 26. You look at 8.
Okay, he did, hey?
Yeah, we're recommending that, and your approval tonight is that you're basically approving the property listings, changing to the listings. So, 28, 30, and 32 will be lowered to 10,000, and lot 26 is lowered to 8,000. But 22 and 29, which are the corner lots, will remain up at 15, and 33 and 34, which are those middle section with the prime lots, they would remain at 15. I mean, he did point out that there is a, when you build a house, there is a return that you get, kind of going to what you're saying. But at this point, I think you want to, his idea was that basically you sell those 2 middle lots of 29 and 33, then you really do have, in de facto, again, further lowering those other lots, because now you've got on both sides.
Yeah, but he's still got 34 at 15, and that's right next to that 33.
Right, but it's a corner lot. That was his,
And to me, that would be a detraction, the corner lot.
Especially that one, that's got a road, it's got 3 front yards.
Yeah.
well, he's, I'm not a real estate professional. So.
Neither am I, but
Yeah.
for me, looking at it, 3 front yards would be a negative.
in just a little bit of dealing with real estate, whether it's a buyer or seller, is, some of it comes down to the buyer too. I know sometimes like if you have a swimming pool, it can be a positive, but also some people it's a negative. Vice versa, different
Right,
things. So,
everybody likes different.
everything's kind of different.
We agreed on that price, 29.5 on the subdivision, huh?
We agreed on that. We're not done evaluating that. We're looking at other options too as we go along here.
I just want to be, well, I guess we can, it's negotiable too, that's his job to. do
Yeah, he's
that.
just giving us a recommendation at this point.
Right,
It's ultimately up to the council.
Yeah, but nothing's changed since 95. It's still all the same prices. I mean, you look at it that way, maybe they should be more, but I said they're just not selling. It's been 12 years.
Well, we've had since 2008, I mean, we've had quite a downturn economically. So I know that he did say that the properties are starting to move again. Houses are starting to move, vacant property is actually starting to move. So building costs are still high, so you probably see a little more movement in existing house than vacant building lots, but you're starting to see some movement, I
right,
guess.
and he did come down on, because them were all 15 straight at one.
15 straight, yeah. I mean, if you want to make go back and have us confirm a counter on the pricing that he's recommending, or just approve a counter, I mean, that's up to you. That's your discretion.
I'm fine with what he's recommending, myself.
And we did hire him, so I guess it's in his hands now, could go back and negotiate or whatever.
And, if you approve these numbers, they always have a chance to come back and either modify their original request or ask again. I didn't make it so that you turn down their request. What I'm doing is just basically saying this is what the recommendation was for the pricing of the property, and, put it back to the person that's making the recommendation or making the request to purchase.
Well, I guess it's like anything else, it's negotiable.
Right.
And being that we just started with him,
Well, I'll make a motion then that the petition be denied, that the prices for lot 28, 30, 32 be approved at 10,000, lot 26 at 8,000, but that they continue negotiation with the person who's requesting to purchase. See if they can come work something out to bring back.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
yes,
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes. Can I have to abstain? Okay, abstain.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
okay. We'll move on to resolution 2019-18. Mr. Anderson.
I'm going to do my best to kind of explain this next one. This is something that the legislature has put forward late last year. It's called a pavement warranty program. I'll go to explain a little bit more about it, but ultimately what it comes down to is the pavement warranty doesn't kick in unless you have over $2 million of actual pavement pricing or pavement cost. That's a pretty big job. And also, it's tied to state and federal dollars. But what the Michigan Municipal League did is they put together they worked with the Department of Transportation to come up with a program that the DOT accepts for the pavement program, which basically the warranty is very similar, if not almost exact, to what the MDOT has in their bid packages or their projects. There's actually two resolutions, 2019-18, which is approving the pavement warranty program, and then 2019-19, which is to implement the pavement warranty program. There's a number of specs that go along with it. The specs are already done. The MML and MDOT, and maybe some other technical assistants put the specs together. I think that there's, reading through everything, I don't think that there's any downside to us. We basically add this to any bid packages that we have. Contractors are now, especially when they're dealing, and most of their jobs are dealing with state and federal dollars, they've been having to deal with this all year. We are required to have this in place by September, so we're putting this out for council tonight to approve both those resolutions, 2019-18, which is, again, to approve the program, and 2019-19 to implement it.
My understanding is we really don't have a choice. We have to.
We have to adopt a program. We could adopt a different spec, but then it would go to MDOT, they would have to approve it,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. I think it's different than the previous one that we looked at when it came to those cross connections, where this particular spec, I really don't, I'm looking through it, I really don't see any downside to it. I mean, it's standard specs for pavement, and it's warranty that you want anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a terrible program. I think it's actually something that's probably pretty easy for us.
Actually, it would never really affect us, would it? Project?
That's mandatory for 2 million. You can actually implement this for smaller projects. So, which I'm actually in the reverse of what we kind of were thinking, that if they're mandating it, but we might want to do this anyway. Because
More government regulations.
but it doesn't give you a warranty. It may cause the cost of the project to go up a bit when they know this ahead of time, but probably not. It's not a bad thing to have in place.
Is there any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion that resolution 2019-18 be approved, and that resolution 2019-19 be approved.
Support. Sorry. Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to, approval of letter of support DCHS funding request. Mr. Anderson.
Okay, this was brought up after the end of our last meeting, put together a letter of support, and so the Dickinson County Hospital has submitted a request to USDA of Rural Development for a $25 million loan, and here's the letter. I put the letter in your packet for council to approve and have us move forward with it.
Do we have any questions on this?
I just want to say that, while I personally support the hospital by going to the hospital, I use their services. It's all of my doctors through the hospital or from referrals from there. I don't think the city should be involved in putting forth a letter like this for them. I don't believe it's something the city should be doing, maybe individuals, but it's not that, like I said, not that I don't support the hospital, because I do. All my health care begins at that hospital, but I just don't think it's something the city should be doing. I don't think the city should take a position either way.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion that the letter of support be approved.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja? Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Move on to approval Sturgeon Falls hydraulic turbine replacement project.
This is a change order for the hydro runner project, particular change order, and it was a subject of our conversation at our last, our special meeting. Again, an update. The contractor went through and did the testing, alignment testing, like we did on unit number 2, and just like in unit number 2, there was the results of that testing, which, didn't until you actually took the shaft out, took the runners out, actually were able to take those readings without the equipment interference. And as he explained in that session, that there is a misalignment. In unit number 2, it was a left to right misalignment. In this particular case, it's an up and down misalignment. There's no room to move the stationary equipment or the shells and the remaining stationary components. So there's some work that has to be done in order to make that happen. I know that we've had some discussions, and I don't think people are wondering with the amount of change orders that come through on a project of this nature, but I do say that this project is complicated, and the change orders that are coming through, especially this one, it's not something that they anticipate. They can, any contractor, they would bid on the known items. It's not possible to really come in, and I don't think they would give, you're either going to really inflate your costs up front, or you just know, you talk about what you can't see, and you say, hey, well, when we get into the project, we'll evaluate it, and then we'll price it accordingly once we know what the conditions are, and that's where we're at. That was one of the major components of this change order. Another component is that one of the 3 shafts that were removed out of Unit 1, there were major cracks. It's the only shaft that had the cracking, but it was significant. It was 1.5 inches deep, circumferential, which means that we actually lose 3 inches of the shaft. We need to have them do the engineering evaluation in order to see if the shaft can be reshaped or material taken off and actually have a 9-inch diameter shaft as opposed to a 12-inch. That's something that had to move forward on and take a look at. I did find out tonight that did not pass the initial engineering, so they're doing some initial engineering to see what kind of other results might come out of that. So hopefully within the next couple of days, we'll know more, but it looks like that one shaft is pretty damaged.
It will not operate with a 9-inch shaft.
Yeah, that's what they're saying after initial engineering. They're looking at, again, like we talked about, the possibility of repairs to the shaft and see if they can get 1+ years. And the idea is that if we have to order a new shaft for that section, it's about a 5-month delay, okay? And it's not catastrophic. I mean, we still have, 2/3 of the units running. We still have 2/3 of the plant running. But we wouldn't be able to start installation of a new shaft until April, May of next year. Okay, so that's a major delay. If we're able to modify it or fix it and get 1 to 2 years, we can actually schedule getting a new shaft. We have to get a new shaft regardless. But if we schedule that in, we can do it on our terms based on the river, and we can also get that into a normal budget sequence with projects. So the things we're evaluating at this point. Again, tonight when I'm sitting here, I don't have that answer, but hopefully within midweek, we'll get something back.
Have they said anything about the possibility to take the 3rd section and make it the 2nd section?
I didn't get a response on that, or I didn't ask them that today. I'm sure by middle of the week, that question will come up, and I'll make sure it comes up, because I think they were evaluating that as well.
Well, I just kind of want to say what Ray said too. This is a change, it's a $136,000 change order, but it's more than a change order, it's a change in scope. This is increasing the amount of things that they found wrong, that they had no way that they could figure out beforehand, that they had to get the machine, they had to get it down, had to get everything open to see what was going on, to see these problems. So yes, it's a change order, it's a big one, but I'm against a lot of these change orders, but this one is necessary, and like I said, it's not something they could anticipate. It's an increase in scope, more than anything.
Well, I also want to make a comment. Being said today, I think that this is being called a change order because it makes it sound like it's a change order from the original plan of what we're going to do. And unfortunately, it seems like everybody turned on there. Something else is wrong, and if we go ahead ahead and we don't fix this, we will come back to the same problems again. You know, it's a dirty shame for the money we put in there that there's this many problems, but we have to deal with it now, and I just, you know, feel we can't just put it back together and not make it right.
That shaft is only 7 years old.
That's the biggest thing for me as well. You know, as listed as a change order request, I would rather not see it that way. I would rather see this come through differently than a change order because of ill craftsmanship in the past years, let's call it, that all this work has to be done. The ill craftsmanship that was done in the past 7 years, misalignments and everything else, is the creation of the shaft breaking.
Like Candy said, the dam's too important, so we have to fix it right now that we have the chance to.
Right.
And this time, you know it's being done right.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, change order number 9 be approved in the amount of $136,345.36.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Move on to approval, local street fund, Valley View scratch course. Mr. Anderson.
Couple weeks, we had representatives from Midwest Asphalt contact us and had an idea that they wanted to bring by council. You know, we talked about our road funding issues, and we talked about having enough money to maybe do a crush and shape, and not the pavement, just crush it up, shape it, and leave it until for a couple of years until we were able to get monies for the final pavement. That was, of course, we changed course on that because residents up in that area were not, they expressed their opinion that was not satisfactory, and so what we decided to do is just do some super patching up there. We kept the monies. We had $56,000 in the budget for crushing of the road. We kept that money in for asphalt to do a hot patch, you know, super patch like we've done in other areas, and have had actually pretty good success to get us bridging us to when we can actually do an actual project, fund an actual project. In this particular case, Midwest said that they had an option of 1-inch scratch course, they call it, with their pavers and rollers, and actually to be a 20-foot wide section. We cannot do the whole road. What we did was we asked them to put together the footage to, you know, for as much as we had, $56,000, and see what kind of footage we could get. They came up with, 4,800 feet, and the total of Valley View is like 7,800 feet. So it's over half. It's a good chunk. In fact, Mr. Ball went up there, and we both went up. We met with him, and he pointed out, we looked at the two worst areas along that stretch. So your maps, which are attached, they show where those sections would be located. One section is 1,600 feet, starting at Summit, heading north, and the other is in midsection, looks like from Botchick Lane. Is that what you're showing, Dave?
That would be Susquehanna residents from there down
okay.
the valley. That's the other bad 20, the whole section of the road is completely, there's nothing asphalt-wise left in there.
And that's 3,200 feet.
Right.
Option out there for council. Take your suggestions or comments.
How much did you budget this year for patching anyway?
For this road or for
Just general patching?
general? Boy, we have, I don't have the number off the top of my head. We have, I remember how many tons you put in. We put in quite a bit, actually, for general coal patching.
We'd have to get that number, look at our budget number for you.
Is this better than hot patch then?
This is hot patch.
This would be,
This is the hot patch? Okay.
it's just that way that it's laid is gonna be using the paving equipment as opposed to
Nick
us.
Rockenberg is from Midwest, he's here.
What we would do is we'd come in and we would actually lay it out
No, no.
with the paver, so we get an even like inch coating over those two sections, and then we roll it with the asphalt roller. So it wouldn't be laid out with a grader, it'd actually be a smooth, basically it'd be like what they did over on
Pine Creek, Upper Pine
Upper
Creek.
Pine Creek Road. It'd be that nice smooth coating over the road.
It'd be like a 1-inch lift though, Nick?
Yeah.
What's the expectancy, like life expectancy out of that 1-inch lift? Just a rough ballpark, you think?
You can get at least 5 years out of those.
Okay.
And it's a better option versus cold patch because hot mix asphalt is less than half the price.
And it lasts longer.
It lasts a lot longer.
Even when we did it ourselves and just used a grader and laid it out, I mean, we've had pretty good success with that hot patch that's pressed on, we don't have the
I
roller,
was
which is
just gonna say, we don't have the roller, and that would be,
the best
A
part.
rough estimate of what
Yeah.
we know we for sure can get those two sections done. It's hard to say if we can go more because of the condition of the road, but if we can't do more, we'll just continue on until we use up the 600 tons. We'll do as much of the road as we can, but those are the two main sections that we will have done.
okay.
So then you just clean it real good and
Yeah, what we would do is
get
we
the
have
binding?
the city go in and sweep and then patch all the major holes. That way we're not wasting any asphalt in those big holes. And then once they're done with that, then we come in and do the scratch course over.
Roughly how many feet of that road is left after this?
You said 7,800 feet, right?
7,800, and we're doing, what, 4,800?
Right.
So around, roughly about 3,000.
And we've had that discussion, we don't know what the material's gonna run. You know, I mean, some holes are, you know, it's gonna be,
Yeah, you'll get up to an inch. Some areas you can go a little thinner because the road isn't in bad shape. So then it'll be a little thinner and it'll let you go farther.
and then between those two, I just picked the worst areas, we walked the road, we
Yeah.
talked about the road. Brian, myself, and Nick, even with Kevin Rometti, the owner there, looked at the road and said, if we put it across, we're 20 feet of no road in those areas.
Yeah. The road,
You still got somewhat of a trail you can get through, but those are areas that aren't completely blown apart where the valley is, where it's shaded, cold. Those are the areas the road just, integrity is gone. So at least this will give us a base for future. And then if the asphalt is, and we come to grind and crush and shape, that asphalt's just gonna get recycled right there in the road. So you're not losing anything off that. Plus you're getting rid of all the cracks in the road, and you're getting the water from going in the cracks, which causes you potholes. This surface will be sheddable, so it will be a little better surface, I would say. And we don't, like you said, we don't know, the plan was to fix those barriers, and if we did go farther to get to the two parts together, that was what the idea was, not going up to, where Nicola was like, I said,
it's so bad. Yeah, for us, the boundary line's not so bad. So if we can go farther, we work on connecting those two sections.
Thank you, Nick, I appreciate it. We gotta do something. I wanna do something, and this is what we can afford.
I'd like to get a quote for the entire Valley View Summit and Perny for doing the same thing.
Basically, it's just the footage, isn't it?
I'd like to know what that total is to do that entire thing.
Can we go ahead with this tonight, this part of it, and then get a quote for the rest?
I can get you a number for the rest of it.
Yeah, we could do that, go ahead with this, and then
Yeah.
get a number.
And that's what I mean, you know, for the existing, you know.
I agree with
Summit and Perny and the existing part, what that cost would
And
be.
then our price, I'll include what it'll be to finish that.
Okay, thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that Midwest Asphalt be approved to buy scratch course of 20 foot by 4,800 feet to Valley View Drive for a price not to exceed $56,000. Support.
Mrs. Brew? Yes. Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Move on to Approval City Hall roof replacement project bids. Mr. Anderson.
All right, this is another project that we discussed during budget hearings. We have a definite need to have the shingles replaced, some actual, we anticipate some actual roof work that needs to be done, some underlayment needs to be repaired, and then we have some penetrations that need to be reflashed for sure. Some of our gutters have corroded and are leaking and need some attention, so we put together a bid package that includes the roof bid, replacing the shingles, a square footage price on underlayment, and also include working with the gutters. We had two respective bidders, Lake State and Markel. Lake State had the low responsive bid of $55,672. A couple points out of the Lake State bid, I pointed out the two differences. Their decking replacement is $1.35 per square foot versus $2.50. And also on a schedule, some questions that they were worried about whether or not they could get to it this year. Definitely Markel put this in the schedule for 2020, but Lake State said that they told us later today or earlier on today, they told us that they could have it done by November of 2019. So that's actually a modification to the report. We got that information. After reviewing the bids, it's my recommendation to move forward with Lake State Roofing and have them replace our roof at City Hall.
Question, Ray, maybe I missed it, I was looking in and I didn't see it. Is it a 20-year shingle or 30 or 25?
I believe is what we asked for.
I thought I've seen it in it, I can't remember.
I could have missed it, but I
thought I did, but.
So
I didn't see it.
15 years out of our 30-year shingle.
need to hear that. What's on here originally? I mean, this place is almost 20 years old, right?
Right. Might just be a 20, actually. I don't know, I'd have to go back into the original specs, and see. I think we had some issues that helped deteriorate the shingles because we had insulation problems. Right. So we're getting a lot of heat transfer up in the attic, creating problems with the penetration. I mean, we had all sorts of issues. So we've been attacking the insulation, we've been attacking the penetrations. This would pretty much seal it up, at least so that we can, we can move forward in a clean environment.
So those issues resolved, we should get 30 years out of this next roof.
This is 30-year architectural
Okay.
shingles.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
Do I have a motion?
What if Markel's, Lake State has an eve repair at so many dollars per hour, Markel has it at a fixed rate?
Yeah.
Is Lake State gonna go over that? And then that bid would be substantial?
I believe so. I think what we have, I had an actual commercial gutter company come in and take a look. We have a couple spots that have repairs. That's where I think Lake State was looking at, is doing the repairs. I'm not sure how that, it's two different, time and material versus the hard dollar. But I'm thinking, we definitely have one off this corner. And then we have to evaluate whether or not down in the future we want to have that other contractor come in and possibly make some structural changes. It's hard to tell now because they're leaking, When we get them tightened up, we can see if we need to add a spout or a redirect.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Lake State Roofing be approved for the roof replacement project for a price not to exceed $55,672 plus about $35 per square foot for decking replacement and $50 per manhole for gutter and eave repairs.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Ocha?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
And that was a budgeted item as well.
That's a budget item, yes.
Move on to approval, police department lien system server replacement.
With our server over in the lean, over in the police department, it's actually a separate system that was put together as being part of the state lean system under Homeland Security. We've given them options as far as, how we work with this, because it actually goes through the My Deal from statewide, and then it's brought through with all of our departments. We finally just said, look, we got to get that thing replaced. It's going to cost $1,742, and that's with Tech Solutions. So you got the equipment and Tech Solutions handling the work. I've included a quote for your review and comment.
Any questions?
Just to make a comment, Tech Solutions are the only ones that can do the work because they are under contract with the sheriffs through multi-bridge state deal.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion Tech Solutions be approved to replace the City of Norway Police Department lien system server and related hardware and software for a price not to exceed $1,742.
Mr. Menegini? Mr. Ocha?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew? Yes. Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Move on to resolution 2019-20, support of Enbridge line number 5.
All right, thank you. This is a resolution that was requested at the last meeting. It basically has come through. The county board has passed a very similar, if not almost exact same resolution, but it's basically everything we need to say. And we'd like to be able to send this off to our legislators downstate, and the governor, and whoever else might listen. But we support line 5, and it's good for the UP.
I agree with short-sighted of the Attorney General to not consider the impacts of the UP of trying to close and filing suit to close line 5 in the governor's office to push. Again, as with the letter earlier, I don't think this is something the city should be taking a position on. I think people should be contacting their legislature, the governor's office, the Attorney General's, Senate, House, but I don't think the city should be. I don't think the city should be taking a position on this.
Any other?
I agree, people have to speak up more in their communities than just the municipalities and everything else. I think more people got to stand up and contact their representatives to get involved with Enbridge.
And maybe this will help them along a little bit too.
It's interesting just to help the general public. If you were able to see what they were talking about with this tunnel, it is an actual tunnel. It's not just a propane line or a gas line that runs under the straits. It's an actual working tunnel that's 14 foot in diameter. There will be opportunities for not only one but multiple utilities, maybe electric bridge connection could go through. It allows workers to go through and inspect. It is really, I think it would be really an advantage to the UP to have that ability and not be directionally boring directly under the bridge. They talk about the environmental impacts. Well, how much safer can you have if it's a working tunnel? I mean, heck, over in England and France, they got a working tunnel that runs vehicles through. So I mean, the technology is pretty sound. I'm sure the geology is going to catch up with it. And I just think if you're interested, if you figure out how to get information on it, you can see it's actually quite a project.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, resolution 2019-20, support for Enbridge line number 5.
Support.
Mr. Oja?
No.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
To address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person.
Nancy Farley, 818 Section Street. I'm the purchaser, want to be the purchaser of Lot 33 in the Spring subdivision. And I had walked the property with Steve Kindness of Dickinson Homes, and the 3-bedroom, 2-car garage will fit nicely on the lot. And Lot 33, along with lots 22, 28, 30, 32, and 34, have been on the tax rolls for 25 plus years, generating zero income for the city. My proposed house plans on Lot 33 should generate approximately $5,000 in tax revenue yearly. A survey was done on Lot 33 in June, and the stakes were placed on the property. That after the July 3rd council meeting, they reassessed the lots. And it was just kind of discouraging to think that this was done after I had, had the stakes put in, had the survey done and everything. Just kind of wondering, how I could spell check, just didn't do,
So you're saying the stakes were moved after you put your bid in?
No, I'm saying the stakes were there, and then you come back, and then you have reassessed the property.
And the stakes were moved from then?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm saying that they were there prior to you going over there, and then reassessing the lots. And for the 15,000, there's a lot on the very end, lot 33, lot 34, and then there's 33, lot 32 was lowered to 10,000. Lot 33, it's the same, I just don't understand that. But anyway, I have, like I said, talked to Dickinson Homes, and we have some plans in order, but I can't go ahead without purchasing a lot. And I would like to, put a bid in for $12,000 now for the lot, which is $3,000 less than what you people have said it was worth, and you also did say it was negotiable. So, any comments?
I don't think that we tonight can take a bid. I think you're gonna have, correct me if I'm wrong, because we hired have an agreement with Mr. Gordon to assess these lots and sell them for us. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Ray, would she have to go to him and put in a bid or negotiate with him?
Yeah, he's not, we're not listing with him at this point. I mean, he's doing this because Nancy already has
A bid in.
and so he's not really taking and applying his
his fees
on this one. We still have to work out a sale agreement with him.
Okay, so we
representation.
haven't done that.
We haven't. But the council did ask him to take a look at and give an evaluation of where he thought the pricing on these lots were, and that's basically where our recommendation came from, is his evaluation of it. But I think he understands though too, it's like any property. I mean, it's all negotiable. So I mean, if you're comfortable with first of all, if you're comfortable with having this right here, I mean, you can do it if you want to just.
I think what she needs to do is refill out your application, at least the part of the bid, and put that down, and then we can reconsider that for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Does that sound right, Grant?
My first bid was 10,000, which I don't know what happened. Nothing happened with that. but now you want 15 because it's next to that very end corner lot. That's what was suggested.
It was 15 before.
Yeah.
It was 15.
They all were 15.
If I could chime in, I think, and I appreciate, you know, frankly, on behalf of the council, I think listening to the council talk about the need for development in the community, it's refreshing to see somebody want to make an investment in the community. And I think the council is going through this process, as you saw tonight a little bit, trying to get a feel for, with Mr. Gordon's direction, on how to proceed with these matters. With that counter proposal, ma'am, what I would suggest to the council and to you as well, to make sure that this goes through the process and everything gets done above board, because it's a city-owned property, I would suggest meet with Mr. Anderson and I afterwards. We can fill out the form very quickly and very briefly. We can put it right at the top of the next agenda, but because it's a city-owned property, it has to go through unfortunately, it has to go through the process, and we can address it immediately, and perhaps Mr. Anderson can take a look at this and chat with you about it, and make sure that this gets put right to the top of your priority list, so hopefully it doesn't hold back your building if it's accepted by the council.
Well, it has, but something I can certainly live with.
Understood.
Yeah, and we could put it back on there. I just don't feel like at this time we can sit here and negotiate. You know, it has to be done properly on the paperwork and everything, and like he said, you can rewrite it for what you want to put in, and the council can consider it, and I'll make sure that it's on the agenda for the next meeting.
So that's 2 weeks from now?
Yes.
That's actually three.
Three, because we got,
First and third, there's too many Mondays in this month.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Move on to council comments. Brett?
I have none.
Lee?
Here. It was a big success. I was very impressed that whoever's cleaning our bathrooms out there did a very good job. And also it was the place for the basketball tournament there this weekend. Fourth of July parade was very nice. It was good to be on the street line with people. I believe there was an entrance in last year, even though there were no politicians running this year. Last year seemed like we had quite a bit of a political notice in the parade. I would just comment after the council meeting, but I guess it just didn't register. About the entrance to the parade, some of these toilets didn't even have a flag on them, nothing red or blue. I just can't see that. How hard is it to throw for your stock or whatever you may have? I just understand that. Okay. The fireworks I thought were fantastic. The light in the background at times, like you think, I mean, it was awesome. And here, to reply to the speaker out in the Saturday news, this performer appears to be this person, President Donato is putting another park on Main Street, that more plus work in the park. You think that money could be used for a more important project like a road for 16th Avenue? You have to run 16th Avenue. I agree with that person, but here's the deal on that. The should be published, so that person can be replied to. The money for the parks, the corner, comes from captured county money from the DDA. That money cannot be used for anything other than the DDA district. And 16th Avenue is not in that district. This has been stated time and time again that the DDA has to stay in the DDA territory, and 16th Avenue is not it. That's all I have to say.
Nothing?
Also like to comment on what Lee said. You know, we tried to explain this quite a few times about the DDA. It is different money. It's not the council's money to decide what we can do with it. Yes, we approve what the DDA does. You know, they can use that money on certain projects if we have a certain district, like we said, that we can put the money in. And of course, if this money could have been used to repair any of these roads that we have, I think the DDA and the council would have loved to do that, but that's not what the money is meant for. The outside outlining of the roads, you know, it's too bad, and I feel bad about it, but that's just the way it is. Mr. Anderson?
Well, not to pile on, but like our council members have pointed out, and we've tried to point out on numerous occasions, I've been trying to point this out for years, not just the DDA. I mean, when we get park money through the DNR, we have the same issue. We have to use it for a specific purpose. And we cannot do the project. I mean, we can say we're not doing the project because we can't pave and pick a street, pick a road, that we don't qualify for under these grants. We're not going to do anything until we get money to pave those roads. Well, then another community is going to use those monies, and quite frankly, the monies are being spent maybe not in the purpose that you think they should be, priority-wise, but it does add to the quality of the experience of living in the town. Okay, so maybe this resident doesn't ever walk on Strawberry Lake path, but there's a lot of residents that do. And other trails that we put in place, I mean, we know that they're using them. So the money is spent and utilized for the quality of life activities, and we don't spend monies in one place that we could have used in another, because if the priority is in another area, it's just that there's very segregated areas we can use the money. As far as the DDA and roads, I mean, the DDA has spent a couple $1 million plus on road, and not only roads, but then water and sewer infrastructure. We've repaved and reworked Railroad Avenue to the point that's in the district. All the roadways in the industrial area have been our DDA money. The Main Streetscape, the Main Street project. We forget, I mean, we know that the streetscape has a decorative element on the surface, but we redid all the water and sewer down through the area. We eliminated combined catch basins. The Main Street was the worst area for not only combined catch basins, but flooding. And we eliminated that. DDA paid 100% with grant money, but they made the city's match on that. So they have done a lot of good over the years. They will continue to do a lot of good because our streetscape bonds from the original streetscape are up in 2024. Their budget's going to improve. They're going to be able to expand some of the work they do. But again, like Councilmember Mangini said, it has to be spent in the DDA district. And so,
And 16th Avenue is not.
It is not in the district. You cannot go any farther north than the railroad bridge, the viaduct. In fact, we can go a block or half a block east and west of Main Street. When you go down through, we have the industrial area, we have the highway, but again, you're a property or two off the highway. You know, so specific. We do have a map that's available. If anybody's interested, it is out on the webpage, and we make that available. So I appreciate the comments. I can understand the frustration, but again, you know, that's the limitations that we're bound to. So
Isn't it the Coleman Engineering right now that's working up a grant application for 80% for, on the other side of the viaduct through 16th Avenue?
Well, we actually have that work out for bid.
Right.
We actually have that monies set up through the rural task force that we talked about during budget hearing. You know, we're looking at a project in 2022. We have a project in 2020, 2022, actually two projects in 2022, and a project in 2024, where we're going to be using federal aid money. And it's going to be going up the hill, all the way through 16th. We got some Kimberly Road work. We're going to be able to utilize that.
That's an 80% grant.
That is an 80% grant, yes.
16th Avenue is first. 16th Avenue in line of 2020, I think is the
Yes.
first road that is
Yes.
up for
Yes, 2020 will be right here on, going up the hill. We'll go up as far as we can. It's basically done on mileage. You know, our district, which is Iron Mountain, Kingsford, Norway, and the road commission, we have to split between 4 road agencies, $325,000 every 2 years. So, you know, we spend time going through with them on who's got priority and who, you know, what project here and there. And so basically, we don't get the 325, we get a portion of it, and we're gonna go as far as we can, and then we'll go, from there, we'll go another segment, and we'll work at it. So, I think that's what we really have to appreciate when we have, you know, working together, like with Midwest, and coming in and doing some things to get us that 5-6 year stretch. We have a couple bond issues in the general fund that are going to be up in the next 2 years, 2 to 3 years. That's going to help the general fund have some, maybe a little additional monies to help in maybe moving some projects that aren't in those qualifying areas ahead. And that's really where we struggle. Those local roads, Valley View and the Summit and the Perny, those are local roads. They just don't qualify for the grant monies. You know, we have to do it all with our road funds. And you know, one of the things, I know I'm droning on a little bit, I'll end it with this. You hear people say, my taxes pay for, and I'm assuming, and I think they mean their property taxes. There's $0 of your property tax goes into road improvements. You know, it doesn't. All the road monies come out of gas tax. And the only time we use the general fund, your property taxes in the general fund, when we use the general fund monies for road work, it's really on the back end of maybe being able to top off a project or something when we have the monies available from the general fund. So, you know, I think it's important. I know it doesn't help, and I know we have that same. I have that same feeling, but really our concentration is to make some improvements with the state with that gas tax, and somehow with that formula that they have, so that we can get some more monies. You know, and that's a whole nother discussion I'm not going to go into tonight. But I'm willing to, if anybody wants to go through it, I'm willing to, because we have all the figures, and we laid it out at budget hearings, we laid it out at during a public hearing.
I mentioned it before, but how many miles of road do we have in the city limits?
Yeah, we have 36.5 miles.
That's a lot of mileage.
2/3 of the miles are local street. So.
I also got one more comment. I also want to say I thought the parade was great. I thought the fireworks were phenomenal. The fire department does a nice job every year. It's nice to have something like this in town that we don't have to travel someplace else, especially for the younger kids. You know, especially want to thank all the volunteers. I can't name everybody. I mean, I see Wally every year. You never miss him. He does a great job. And again, with the fire department, I seen Lee Menegini down there too, and helping out the city band here. I mean, we just really have a nice community, and we put on a nice 4th of July, I believe.
Candy, he's been in charge of that parade for 23 years, and he says it's never been my parade, and it held off again.
Is that official or unofficial?
That's official.
Oh, that's official.
Good thing we didn't do fireworks sooner. They brought the rain in. It wasn't gonna rain when we shot. Seeing the clouds, because that storm was north and it came this way.
The fire department did a great job with the weather coming in, and we were on top of it. That was really nice.
Got it in just in time.
Got it in.
Yeah. That was, the rain date would have been Saturday, and I wasn't going to be working on Saturday night.
Yeah. Mr. Carlson?
None, thank you.
Trish? Do I have a motion to?
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer? Mr. Menegini? Mr. Oja?
Yes.